Kevin Noon talking Ohio State football right here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Join Kevin and the rest of the staff there at Buckeye Grove. Kevin, when we look at recruiting, Julian Fleming, a huge get, the second 5-star for Ryan Day during this recruiting cycle, of course, so the commitment needs to hold for the next 6 to 7 months, something in that range to December or the first week of February. Your thoughts about where the Buckeyes stand in the recruiting right now? If you just look at the sheer ranking, not as impressive last cycle, 2018 or 2019, as it was under Urban Meyer. But if you look at the quality of the recruits, they're just as good. And it's a big weekend coming up again for Ohio State and Ryan Day.
Right, exactly. With Julian Fleming, one of the highest rated recruits that Ohio State's gotten in recent memory. Good size, great speed. It grew up within an hour and a half of State College. Everybody believed he was going to go to Penn State. You know, that relationship with Brian Hartline, I don't think that's talked about enough, how great a recruiter Brian Hartline has become. He still looks like he can get out there, run routes, highly relatable. He understands what it means to be in the league, what it takes to be successful in the league. And, I mean, I think it just really just oozes off of him when he talks to players and families. And ultimately, that best relationship was there for Julian Fleming. And I think it's going to be a commitment they're going to be able to hold on to. Teams aren't going to give up on him. Clemson's not going to give up. Penn State's not going to give up. Alabama will continue to push because that's what Alabama does. I mean, they really don't start their recruitment until late in the fall at this point. But I think the Buckeyes are going to just be tremendous and holding on to him. They already have a receiver class with G. Scott out of Washington and Jackson Smith in Jigba out of Rockwall, Texas, a Dallas suburb. Just what they have right there, they are going to be set at receiver for many years. And you do mention a big recruiting weekend coming up. I mean, they do have some kids coming in before the weekend of the 21st, but June 21st is going to be their big weekend. Look for a couple commitments to come out of there as well.
And I got to think Hartline's also a big selling point in regards to, here's a guy that for much of his career at Ohio State was, I don't want to use the term marginal, that would not be accurate, but a good receiver that people didn't project as being a starter in the NFL. Suddenly took off a year early, which many people thought might be an issue or a miscalculation on his part, and it wasn't, because he was looking at the quarterback room at Ohio State. He moves on to the NFL, develops into a Pro Bowl wide receiver with 1,000-yard receiving seasons, and then he can point some of these recruits to the fact that, hey, look at your talent versus mine, and look at what I developed into, and I can do the same for you.
Right, he was part of the Bryans. It was Hartline and Robisky, and I think a lot of people thought more that Brian Robisky would be the guy who would have the breakout career. I mean, he did bounce around in the league for a little bit, but Hartline definitely was a self-made guy when it comes to NFL terms, and I think that's something that does speak loudly for what he was able to do and what he's going to be able to pass on to players who learn under him.
And Kevin, there's also a thought that Urban Meyer recruited the best talent. He recruited the best talent. That's what he was looking for, speed and sheer talent. And he was throwing guys out there at wide receiver that weren't necessarily polished, where Ryan Day may be looking for a more polished receiver that's ready, because Urban Meyer was power run first. And of course, we want to have a complementary passing game until the Dwayne Haskins year, of course, where Ryan Day's more of a passing coach, and I want polished receivers, guys that are ready to come in and play.
Right. I think under Urban Meyer, Urban valued speed above all else when it came to the receiver. You know, if you're fast, you're fast. We'll figure out the rest of it. I think under Ryan Day, we're going to see a little bit more of them. They're still going to want speed. I mean, Ohio State has always had that speed that maybe some other teams within the league have not had. But I think that they're going to go out and probably look at a different type of receiver in a lot of regards, and maybe even be more appealing to a certain type of receiver that they weren't necessarily recruiting as much under Urban Meyer and that coaching staff. So, I mean, it does open up a lot of interesting doors to see how that room may change a little bit. But I think that you're going to see them go after maybe more of these complete receivers that they don't have to necessarily teach them how to catch. I mean, I harken back to Paris Campbell. Paris Campbell, I thought, would have been a first-round defensive back. He was a great athlete, fast as all get out. Maybe not the most natural pass catcher. He really didn't put it all together until the end of his career. I don't know if under the current administration, if he would have been somebody they would have pursued as much because of him not being as much of a natural pass catcher. I think that they're going to go for somebody who checks off all the boxes a little bit more.
Kevin Noon from the Buckeye Grove. Please join him and the rest of the staff there for very top-notch Ohio State football talent. Kevin, I appreciate you stopping by and giving us a lot of good insight and information to Ohio State football.
Absolutely. Anytime.